Elon Musk just said something that could change the world forever. In a single post, he hinted that Tesla, the global king of electric cars, is working on something no one ever thought possible: a car powered by water. Cut to clips of Tesla factories, engines, rippling water, lightning effects. That's right, water, the same element that covers our oceans, runs through our veins, and fuels life itself, might soon fuel our cars. But here's the twist. For years, Musk laughed at hydrogen technology. He called it fool cells, a dead-end idea. So why now? Why would Tesla, after conquering the EV market, suddenly risk everything on an energy source everyone else gave up on? Is this a desperate move to stay ahead of BYD and Toyota? Or the beginning of a new clean energy revolution that could destroy the oil industry forever? To understand why Musk would do this, we need to go back to where Tesla's story really began, and the flaw that could change everything. Before Tesla became a symbol of the future, it was a joke. Back in the early 2000s, the idea of an electric car that could outperform a gasoline engine was laughable. Big automakers mocked it, investors avoided it, the media barely cared. But there was one man who refused to listen, a man who believed the future didn't belong to oil, but to innovation. Elon Musk didn't create Tesla, he rescued it. When Musk joined in 2004, Tesla was nothing but a risky startup with a half-finished prototype and a dream nobody believed in. Even its founders doubted it would work. The Roadster, Tesla's first car, was supposed to prove the world wrong, but it almost destroyed the company. Delays, exploding batteries, massive cost overruns, everything that could go wrong did. At one point, Tesla had just enough money to pay employees for 2 weeks. People quit, investors pulled out, and yet Musk didn't stop. He poured in his last $35 million, his own money, betting everything he had left from PayPal. He told the team failure is not an option. Then, something incredible happened. In 2008, the Tesla Roadster finally hit the streets. Silent, sleek, faster than a Porsche. Suddenly, the world realized electric cars weren't slow toys. They were the future. But Musk wasn't satisfied. He wanted to prove Tesla wasn't a one-hit wonder. He wanted to build a car that ordinary people could actually afford, and that dream would push him to the edge of bankruptcy again and again. Because behind every headline about Tesla's success, there was a storm of chaos, debt, and enemies waiting to see him fail. But that chaos, it was only the beginning. Because just as Tesla began to rise, the world's most powerful industries started to fight back. Every empire faces its breaking point. For Tesla, that moment came from the very thing that made it famous: the battery. See, Tesla's success wasn't built on design or marketing. It was built on cells, thousands of tiny lithium-ion batteries wired together to create what Musk called the heart of the revolution. But that heart almost stopped beating. By 2013, Tesla was scaling fast. The Model S was a hit, orders were flooding in, and the company was finally profitable. But inside Tesla's factories, a terrifying problem was brewing. The batteries that powered every car were unstable, too unstable. A single miscalculation, a bit too much heat, a microscopic defect, and the result was catastrophic. Cars caught fire. Videos spread online. The same media that once ignored Tesla now called it dangerous. Musk was furious. He spent nights in the factory, sleeping on the floor, demanding answers. How could the technology that was supposed to save the planet be turning against him? But this was no simple defect. It was a design flaw buried deep in the chemistry itself. Fixing it meant rebuilding the entire production process from scratch. And the cost? Astronomical. Tesla's cash reserves started to burn faster than its batteries. Investors panicked. Stock prices collapsed. Musk admitted in interviews, "We were weeks away from dying." For a moment, it looked like the dream was over. The revolution that promised to change the world was on the edge of extinction. But Musk didn't fold. He doubled down. He made a decision that would either save Tesla forever or destroy it completely. He would build something no one had ever dared to try before, a gigafactory. A factory so massive it could produce more batteries in a year than every other company on Earth combined. But what Musk didn't know was that this decision would spark the biggest industrial war of his career. For decades, scientists and inventors have whispered about one impossible idea: a car that runs on water. To most experts, it sounded like pure science fiction. Because here's the truth: water by itself can't power anything. It's stable, harmless, lifeless. But inside every drop of water hides something far more powerful: hydrogen. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, and when split from oxygen, it becomes a clean, explosive source of energy. No carbon, no pollution, just power. But there's a reason no one's mastered it yet. Extracting hydrogen from water requires massive amounts of electricity, more than you'd ever get back. It's like trying to light a fire using the flame you're trying to create. Still, rumors have always swirled. Secret inventors, patents buried by oil companies, cars that supposedly ran on water before mysteriously disappearing. Stories dismissed as conspiracy theories, until now. Because in 2025, Elon Musk hinted at something that shook both scientists and investors. Tesla was testing a closed-cycle energy system that uses electrolytic conversion. That's a fancy term, but it means one thing: a possible breakthrough in turning water into fuel, not traditional hydrogen, something new, something Tesla calls H2 fusion, a hybrid between hydrogen fuel and battery storage. It's not pure fantasy. In fact, leaked patents show Tesla experimenting with plasma-assisted electrolysis, technology that could theoretically split water using far less power than ever thought possible. If it works, it could make oil irrelevant. And that's exactly why some people believe Musk's cryptic post wasn't a joke or a PR stunt. It was a warning, because whoever controls water power controls the future. But unlocking that power comes with a price. And what Musk's team discovered next, inside Tesla's secret Nevada lab, would change everything they thought they knew about energy. For years, Elon Musk mocked hydrogen. He called it fool cells. He said it made no sense, that it was just an excuse for automakers to pretend they cared about the planet. But why would a man known for chasing the impossible, Mars missions, AI robots, underground cities, completely dismiss hydrogen? The answer is complicated, because behind Musk's public insults was a truth few people understood. Hydrogen technology wasn't the problem, the system around it was. Hydrogen fuel cells needed massive, expensive infrastructure, special pumps, cryogenic storage, tankers that could transport gas colder than the surface of Pluto. And worst of all hydrogen today comes from fossil fuels. So in Musk's eyes, hydrogen wasn't green energy. It was oil wearing a disguise. Tesla's entire empire was built on batteries: lithium, nickel, cobalt. Musk believed mastering those materials would make the world cleaner, faster. But even as Tesla's market value exploded, something else was happening quietly behind the scenes. The battery industry was running out of resources. Lithium mines were drying up. Cobalt was being pulled from conflict zones. Prices soared. Suddenly, Musk's perfect system didn't look so perfect anymore. And that's when the whispers began. What if he'd been wrong all along? What if the energy of the future wasn't buried in the ground, but floating in the air? In private meetings, Musk reportedly began revisiting the same question he once mocked. Could hydrogen actually work if done differently? Not in the old, wasteful way, but through a system powered by Tesla's own renewable energy grid: solar, wind, and battery storage working together to extract hydrogen directly from water. A loop, a self-sustaining cycle, clean, limitless, untouchable. That's the theory behind what insiders now call Project Aquarius, a rumored Tesla research initiative focused on water-based hydrogen generation. Whether it's real or not, the evidence keeps stacking up: new patents, cryptic tweets, and a trail of scientists suddenly going silent after joining Tesla Energy. So maybe Musk didn't reject hydrogen after all. Maybe he just wasn't ready for the world to know. But the world is starting to catch on. And that's where the real danger begins. For over a decade, the world has been sold one dream. Electric cars would save us. No gas, no smoke, no noise. Just quiet, clean energy gliding across the highways of the future. And for a while, that dream looked unstoppable. Tesla became a trillion-dollar empire. Governments banned gasoline cars. Every automaker, from Mercedes to Ford, rushed to copy the formula. But behind the applause, something darker was brewing. Because the electric revolution had a secret. It wasn't as clean as it looked. Mining lithium tore up ecosystems. Cobalt came from exploited workers. And recycling old EV batteries turned out to be far harder than anyone admitted. By 2025, energy analysts were asking a dangerous question. Have we just traded one problem for another? And that's when hydrogen came roaring back. Toyota, Hyundai, and BMW doubled down on fuel cell technology. They claimed hydrogen was faster to refuel, cleaner to produce, and easier to scale. Suddenly, the same companies Tesla had humiliated were fighting back, hard. But Musk wasn't about to lose his throne. Tesla quietly began filing new patents, not for cars, but for energy systems, hydrogen-electric hybrids, closed-cycle generators, solar electrolysis. If Tesla could merge both technologies, electric and hydrogen, it could end the debate forever. But that's not what the oil industry wanted. Because if hydrogen truly becomes clean, it threatens to destroy trillions in global energy profits overnight. Entire economies depend on oil, and they'll do anything to protect it. Leaks began appearing. Tesla facilities mysteriously delayed. Regulations shifted. Governments suddenly tightened energy safety laws. Coincidence or something bigger? What we're witnessing isn't just a race between companies. It's a war for control of the world's power supply. Electric versus hydrogen, Tesla versus everyone. And the truth is, the side that wins won't just dominate the car market, they'll own the future. But what if Musk's next move changes everything again? Because hidden inside one of Tesla's newest prototypes might be the key to ending this war once and for all. For every breakthrough that promises to save humanity, there's always a hidden cost. Hydrogen may sound like the perfect fuel, clean, abundant, and powerful. But what most people don't realize is that it's also one of the most volatile elements in the universe. It doesn't need a spark to ignite. A single static charge, one invisible leak, and an entire facility can vanish in seconds. Back in 1937, the Hindenburg disaster turned hydrogen into a nightmare word. One explosion, and decades of progress went up in flames. And while technology has evolved, the danger hasn't disappeared, it's just become quieter. Inside Tesla's rumored Project Aquarius, engineers allegedly discovered something unsettling. When hydrogen interacts with certain battery compounds, microscopic plasma reactions can occur, unstable energy bursts that are nearly impossible to predict. In testing, even a small miscalculation could cause temperature spikes strong enough to melt steel. It's the reason no company has ever dared combine hydrogen and lithium at a commercial scale. Too unpredictable, too dangerous. And yet, that's exactly what Tesla might be doing. Reports suggest Musk's team believes they found a stabilizing catalyst, a material that can safely contain hydrogen inside a solid-state matrix. If true, it could make hydrogen as safe as any modern EV battery, but if it fails, one prototype could wipe out an entire lab. That's why Tesla's newest energy research facilities are buried in isolated desert zones, surrounded by strict security and silence. No leaks, no cameras, no witnesses. Some call it innovation, others call it madness. Because when you're playing with the most explosive substance on Earth, one mistake isn't just a setback, it's a disaster waiting to happen. But even with the risks, Musk has never been the type to back down. Because for him, danger isn't a reason to stop, it's a challenge to overcome. And if rumors are true, Tesla's next experiment might finally prove whether hydrogen power is salvation or self-destruction. Elon Musk never moves without a plan. Every crazy decision, every tweet, every risk has a pattern hidden beneath the chaos. When he pushed Tesla toward electric cars, the world laughed. When he sent rockets into space, they called it impossible. When he bought Twitter, people said it was madness. But years later, those same critics call him a visionary. So what if the talk about hydrogen isn't a U-turn, but a trap? Insiders believe Musk's sudden interest in hydrogen isn't about abandoning batteries. It's about controlling the entire clean energy ecosystem. Think about it. If Tesla can master not just electric cars, but also the infrastructure, batteries, solar power, charging, and hydrogen, then no competitor can touch them. Not Toyota, not Hyundai, not even governments. Musk isn't just building cars, he's building an empire of energy. And there's something even deeper, something few people have noticed. In Tesla's latest filings, a small line appeared under Energy Innovations. Hybrid storage systems integrating electrolysis and solid-state conversion. To the untrained eye, it looks like meaningless jargon, but to experts, it's a silent declaration of war. It means Tesla isn't trying to replace batteries with hydrogen. They're trying to merge them to create a dual system that can store, release, and recycle energy in ways no company has ever achieved. A system that doesn't just power cars, but could power cities. If successful, it would make Tesla the cornerstone of the world's next energy revolution, a company that doesn't sell vehicles, but sells freedom from fuel. But this long game won't be easy. Building such a network requires billions in funding, global political cooperation, and scientific breakthroughs that may take years. Still, if anyone has proven that impossible is just another word for later, it's Elon Musk. Because while others fight today's battles, Musk is already planning for tomorrow's war. A war not between companies, but between ideas. Electric versus hydrogen, batteries versus fuel cells, the present versus the future. And somewhere deep inside Tesla's labs, the blueprint of that future might already exist. Imagine a world where every car, truck, and plane runs not on oil, but on water, where the sound of engines is replaced by silence, where cities no longer choke under the weight of smog, and the only thing leaving a car's exhaust is a drop of pure vapor. It sounds like science fiction, but so did reusable rockets, electric cars, and AI-powered factories. Now, the same man who redefined space and transport might be about to rewrite energy itself. If Tesla succeeds in harnessing hydrogen efficiently, it won't just change how we drive, it will change everything. Gas stations will transform into hydrogen hubs. Deserts filled with solar panels could generate infinite clean energy to split oceans into fuel. Nations that once depended on oil could run their economies on sunlight and seawater. And for the first time in human history, energy might no longer belong to the powerful few, but to everyone. No pollution, no scarcity. Just a planet running on the most abundant resource it already has, water. But let's be honest, this future isn't guaranteed. Hydrogen is expensive, unstable, and the infrastructure is far from ready. Yet every revolution in history began the same way, with one impossible idea. If Tesla cracks the code, it could trigger the biggest transformation since the industrial age, a clean, endless loop of energy powered by nature itself. And if it fails, the dream of a world running on water will return to the shadows, waiting for someone else bold enough to try again. Because in the end, innovation isn't about engines, batteries, or even hydrogen. It's about vision, the courage to look at the impossible and still say, let's build it. Every revolution sounds perfect on paper until reality hits. And the truth is, building a world powered by hydrogen isn't just about technology. It's about infrastructure, economics, and trust. Because while Tesla might have the vision, the world isn't quite ready for it yet. Let's start with the first roadblock, fueling. Today, there are more than 150,000 electric charging stations across the globe. But hydrogen? Barely 1,200, mostly in Japan, Germany, and California. That means if you drive a hydrogen car across most countries, you'll run out of fuel before you find your second station. Then there's cost. Setting up a single hydrogen refueling station costs around $1 to $2 million. That's 10 times more than an EV supercharger hub. Multiply that across entire nations, and you start to see why most governments are still hesitant to commit. But even if infrastructure catches up, there's fear, and not without reason. Hydrogen is a light, flammable gas. It needs to be stored at pressures 700 times higher than your car's fuel tank. A single leak, a tiny spark, could cause disaster. Companies like Toyota and Hyundai have spent years making hydrogen storage safe. But public trust? That takes decades to earn. And Tesla, despite its innovation, will have to fight that same battle for acceptance. Then there's the economy. Every major shift in energy rewrites the global balance of power. Oil-rich nations would lose billions. Entire industries built on fuel, refineries, and combustion engines would collapse overnight. And when power shifts, resistance always follows. Even now, critics say hydrogen is too complex, too costly, and too unstable to replace batteries. But here's the twist. That's exactly what people said about electric cars 15 years ago. Back when Tesla was a small startup no one believed in. So maybe history is repeating itself. Maybe once again, the world is doubting an idea that will eventually change everything. Because if we've learned anything from Elon Musk, it's that impossible timelines, impossible ideas, and impossible dreams are usually just the beginning. So, can the world keep up? Can governments, industries, and people move fast enough to catch this new wave of clean power? Only time will tell. But one thing's certain, the race for the future has already begun, and this time, it's running on water. For years, the world has treated electricity and hydrogen like rivals. One had the speed and simplicity, the other had the range and power. But maybe the real future isn't about choosing sides. Maybe it's about combining them. Because if you look closely, the technologies aren't enemies, they're partners. Electric vehicles dominate the cities. Fast, efficient, perfect for short distances. But what about long roads, heavy trucks, and ships crossing oceans? That's where hydrogen steps in. Powerful, fast to refuel, built for endurance. Together, they could create a world where every form of transport runs clean. Cities buzzing with silent electric cars, while highways and cargo fleets run on hydrogen. Two technologies forming a perfect balance between power and sustainability. And who could bring that harmony faster than Tesla? Imagine a Tesla Semi powered by both batteries and hydrogen. A hybrid system that never runs out, never pollutes, and never slows down. One that recharges from sunlight by day and refuels with green hydrogen by night. This isn't a fantasy, it's already happening. Japan, Germany, and the US are testing hydrogen-electric hybrid grids. Trains powered by fuel cells, buses that emit nothing but water vapor. And behind the scenes, Tesla's engineers might already be drawing up designs that merge both worlds. Because that's the next step. Integration, not competition. The clean energy revolution won't belong to a single source or company. It'll be built from a mix: wind, solar, battery, hydrogen. A system so efficient it loops endlessly between nature and machine. A world where charging stations and hydrogen pumps sit side by side, where pollution is a story from the past, where energy is limitless and owned by everyone. So maybe the real secret of Tesla's hydrogen move isn't about abandoning batteries. It's about completing the circle, creating a planet that runs entirely on clean power. Because in the end, the future won't be electric or hydrogen. It'll be both. And when that day comes, the world will finally be free from the chains of oil, powered only by the two things it's always had in abundance: the sun above and the water below. The next revolution won't burn fuel. It will flow. On the surface, Tesla's war against hydrogen looked simple. Batteries won, hydrogen lost. But what if that was never the full story? Because when you follow the moves, not the headlines, a different picture starts to appear. Musk didn't just ignore hydrogen, he delayed it. He waited while the world rushed to electrify everything. And in the shadows, Tesla quietly built the foundation: solar, storage, AI, autonomy. Each piece, Powerwall, Megapack, Solar Roof, wasn't just a product. It was a brick in a larger empire of energy control. By the time hydrogen becomes viable, who will have the infrastructure to manage it? Who will have the data, the vehicles, the grid systems, the AI-driven factories ready to scale overnight? Tesla. Maybe the goal was never just to make electric cars, it was to own energy itself. Because think about it, every battery, every solar panel, every supercharger, they all feed into the same ecosystem. And hydrogen? It could be the final missing piece, the last element that makes Tesla not just a car company, but the core of the world's energy web. Musk doesn't need to rush hydrogen. He just needs to wait until the others prove it works, then step in with a system that already dominates everything else. Imagine this, a Tesla network where hydrogen and electricity blend seamlessly, where every car, home, and factory runs on a single Tesla-managed energy flow, where even governments rely on Tesla tech to keep the lights on. That's not science fiction, it's strategy. Because when you control energy, you don't just power the world, you own it. So maybe the real question isn't whether Musk believes in hydrogen, but when he'll decide to unleash it. And when that moment comes, when Tesla finally pulls back the curtain, the companies we think are leading the clean energy race today might just realize they were running on Tesla's roadmap all along. The future isn't about fuel, it's about control. So after everything, the rise, the chaos, the silence, and the secrets, one question still remains. Was Tesla ever just about cars? Because maybe all along, the cars were just the bait. A beautiful distraction while something much larger was being built behind the curtain. Every factory, every AI chip, every charging station. They're not just parts of a company, they're nodes in a network. A network that could one day control how the world consumes energy, moves, breathes, even thinks. Hydrogen, electricity, solar, they're not competing forces anymore. They're chapters in the same story. A story that's still being written by the man who never plays one move at a time. So when Musk laughs off hydrogen or mocks competitors chasing it, is it arrogance or camouflage? Because if you've learned anything from Tesla's journey, it's this. Every time the world thinks it's caught up, Musk is already 10 steps ahead. Maybe hydrogen isn't the enemy. Maybe it's the end game. And if that's true, if Tesla's hidden plan really is to merge both worlds, then the question isn't if he'll change everything again. It's when. When energy is free, who will own the future?